the work of an Iowa-based organization, Bailing Out Benji, kind of helped spark this investigation. Can you tell me about that?
That resolution filed in King County Superior Court requires the company to pay the state $3.75 million with interest.
Bailing Out Benji regularly looks through these records of dogs' movement from state to state.
Bailing Out Benji
played a key part in unraveling a nationwide puppy scheme.
Bailing Out Benji,
an organization that's been working across the country to stop the pipeline of puppy mill breeders.
Bailing Out Benji.
I will use my voice because it will come out, and I will keep doing it until there are no more puppy mill dogs. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Truth, Lies, and Puppy Mills, Bailing Out Benji's original podcast. My name is Mindy, and I'm really excited to have you all back this week and be a part of the conversation. Before we jump into this episode, I just wanted to kind of reflect on the last episode in the promo. So many people have been reaching out saying they are excited the podcast was back and that they really liked hearing what we've got going on. And so thank you all. Thank you for waiting for 3 years for us to start releasing podcast episodes again. And again, just thank you for being a part of the conversation because we really couldn't do this without all of you. So today's episode is going to be a little different. We're not going to be talking about a theme or anything specific per se, but I want to introduce you to my colleagues that I'm lucky to work with every single day. So we're going to do this a little differently so you can hear everybody's voices, but I'm going to introduce my colleagues, and then in a little bit, we're going to go into a little more in depth on what everyone does. So first, I wanted to introduce Alexis. She has been with our team the longest of the 3 of my colleagues. I can't say the 4 of us because, sorry, Alexis. You're second to me, I guess. So Alexis has been with us actually since 2020. I was speaking at her student club and I made a plea for interns, and Alexis was excited to reach out and join us. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that was like for you, Alexis?
Yeah, I think when you came and talked to my college club, it was kind of the first time that we'd had this big discussion about puppy mills. But on top of that, the way that you explained Bailing Out Benji and the research and the advocacy side of everything, it was the first time that I'd seen an organization that had such a strategic way of focusing on the puppy mill industry. I just really fell in love with the research that you're doing, the passion behind Bailing Out Benji. So I was very excited to reach out and try to intern with you. And thankfully it all worked out. And now here I am today, full time with Bailing Out Benji.
You interned for about 2 years and then switched over full time.
Yeah. I went and interned from, I think, about junior year to senior. And went full time after I graduated.
So what's your favorite part of working for Bailing Out Benji?
Well, the research. I think that's kind of, I know it's a little silly to say, but I always tell people that I really feel like a detective when I'm doing research, just kind of following these little rabbit holes, following all of these threads to provide transparency to the public. So I really full-heartedly love our research, and I love all the information that we get to share with the public, and finding new and fun ways for that information to be given to the public, I think is something that I love too.
Thanks, Alexis. Next, I'm going to introduce Jalaine, who is our volunteer and outreach coordinator. And if you're watching this or listening to this, you've probably spent a lot of time talking to Jalaine because she's the face of our volunteer program. She has been with us for 2 years officially this week. Whoop, whoop. So Jalaine comes, she and I were teachers together way back in the day, and we clicked almost immediately. We had really similar education styles. We had similar ways of dealing with problematic people and problem solving when children are involved. So when we opened our position for volunteer coordinator and Jalaine applied, it was just like a match made in heaven. So we're really lucky to have her be the face of our volunteer teams.
It's been such a transition. I was so nervous leaving all I knew in childcare to come here, and I've just been welcomed with open arms, and I don't know, I love it.
What's been your favorite part so far?
Getting to know everybody and building these personal relationships. I remember when I first started and looked at the amount of volunteers we had, I was like, I'm never gonna remember who all these people are. Like, there's no way. Like, I have ADHD, right? I do remember, like, you form these bonds with people and you have the conversations. And yeah, I can tell you most of our volunteers by name because I don't know, I just care about them and want them to be successful in what they're doing. And that's been my favorite part.
Love that. Thank you. And lastly, I'm going to introduce you to Kristen, who is the newest member of our team. Kristen's been with us since November of 2024, so just a few months. If you've been to our gala, you have likely seen Kristen running around with us, helping us set up and helping us get especially the auction ready and the decorations. Kristen, you've also been very helpful with our pet food pantry since 2020. We actually had some volunteer changeover when the pandemic happened and we needed help, and Kristen not only stepped up, but she brought members from her church along to help. And she's just been a wonderful part of our team. You bring a lot of calm a lot of calm to our conversations and just a wonderful perspective. So thank you, Kristen. What's been your favorite part of being a part of Bailing Out Benji?
Oh my gosh. It feels like a fire hydrant of information. So my favorite is learning all of the things. I feel like I've kind of watched Bailing Out Minji grow up from the outside and from a volunteer and supporter perspective. So getting to really see it all from the inside and just amazed at how much we do and how we do it has been super fun to learn. And then meeting, kind of like Jalaine said, meeting all of the volunteers, all of our donors. I mean, that has been super fun. Just getting to connect with people that love Bailing Out Benji as much as I do. It's been a great experience.
I love that. And you actually just got back from your first official volunteer experience, I guess.
I did. I got to go to Michigan, and I've always wanted to go to Michigan. So it was a cool opportunity. We kind of, as a team, we kind of decided this year that we're going to, instead of sending our folks to conferences put on by other organizations, that we want to focus more on connecting with each other internally at Bailing Out Benji. So to that, Jalaine and I went, I don't know, maybe a month ago now. She and I got the chance to go out to Omaha, which is just a couple hours away from our home base here, and meet with a volunteer out there, which was a great experience. And then I've met with some local volunteers, and then got the opportunity to go to Michigan to help out our volunteer team there with the Mid-Michigan Pet Expo. So Emily, shout out to Emily. I know she's watching. She let me sit next to her for 2 days at the Mid-Michigan Pet Expo, and I just talked her ear off. But it was a great experience to see that side of it, to see the people who come to our tables at events and the things that they have to say. And also just get to talk to Emily for all that time while we sat there and learn more about Bailing Out Benji from the volunteer side. So there was a lot of good info.
Yeah, so when you mentioned that we are no longer, well, it's not that we're no longer, but we're transitioning to supporting our teams and getting to know our community internally as opposed to going to all of these conferences. If you follow Bailing Out Benji on social media, you know how busy we are. And we were constantly going to national conferences, and that was kind of expensive for us. We had to pay for the table to be there and then pay to travel there and then pay to stay at the hotel, plus all the merch and stuff. So it was so much that we needed to figure out if it was worth our time.
Adding on to that about how expensive it is, I think the most shocking factor for me about like expense wise for some of these big national expos is the price of just a table and chairs. We went to a conference, Jalaine and I, last year, and they told us to rent a table and chair. It was about $900. And that was just to have it for a few days. And it was just a simple table that we use at most of all of our tabling events, and a simple plastic chair. And I about keeled over. Yes, Jalaine about it. It was shocking. I had no idea, couldn't understand. But yeah, it is very expensive, especially for our organization who doesn't have a massive budget. That eats up a big chunk of what we're able to do.
I'm pretty sure the exact phrase was, the person said, that'll be $8.95. And you were like, dollars?
That is exactly how that played out. Yep. Had to just ask, make sure, double check. And that was how much it was to rent. And she had told me, she was like, and even though you may feel like you want to keep the table and chairs at the end, please return them. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, you could go buy a table for like $90 and then chairs. Like the fact that people were flying to this conference and then weren't given a table and chairs, we couldn't fly with that from Iowa. So yeah, things have been really eye-opening lately for us. So we've been kind of working on again, just that reconnection with our teams.
I think that, I mean, there's still value in like the conferences and stuff. I just think there's a lot more opportunity to connect with those kinds of things online at this point. A lot of organizations have webinars to still stay in touch industry-wise. But to me, there's just much more return in getting out and connecting with our volunteers and the people that we are trying to reach with this message. That's the kind of thing that to me loses some value when it's done electronically. Yeah, it's just good to put a face to the name. It was good to have that connection with Emily. So now she has more of the firsthand awareness of what we do and who we are, instead of us just kind of being these people on the other end of a Zoom call or an email. And then the same thing with the people that came to the table. So having her there being local and me there from our, what do you call it? I hate to say corporate presence. We're not corporate, but whatever, our home base. If folks could then come up and say, you know, like, oh, well, you know, this shelter wherever. And she's like, absolutely, I do. Like, I don't live too far from there. And then I can have that, like, the overall Bailing Out Benji approach, or representation, I guess, to let people know that like we are a nationwide organization, not just based in Michigan. So it's worthwhile, I think.
But we're meeting the community where they're at. Like, so the national conferences that we used to go to, or still might, those are very rescue and shelter oriented. So members of the general public aren't going. And it's great for us to get there to network and to get other people to know who Bailing Out Benji is. But when you were in Michigan, or when Alexis and Jalaine were in Texas last year, like, you get to meet the community where they're at. You're talking to the puppy buyers more often than not.
Yeah, and that was eye-opening. Y'all had told me before I went, like, you're going to hear so many stories from people that have had experiences with puppy mills. No joke. Every person who came to our table had a puppy mill story. Either they had bought a dog from a puppy mill, someone they knew had bought a dog from a puppy mill. Pet stores there in Michigan that are selling in very bad conditions. We only had one. Oh, we had a ferret rescue. There was a ferret rescue at the Mid-Michigan Pet Expo, and they came to our table and we're talking about the similarities between the dogs and the ferrets and the same kinds of problems. But we only had one family that came to the table who was actively researching before they buy. So out of the 2 days I sat there, it was a 3-day expo. I only attended 2 days. We saw thousands of people in those 2 days. It was packed. And only one family that was actually researching before they bought, which is amazing. And I love that, but it really drove home, that makes my brain start to spin about how do we do a better job of getting to people before they get their pet. I look forward to when we can go to expos and hear a more balanced amount of stories between people who adopted or shopped responsibly versus those who have been burnt by a puppy mill.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about Michigan before we?
Gosh, let me think. It was just such a good experience. I love to travel, first of all. I love to see any place new. So that was fun, just to get out and go see a new place. But I think really just the getting to see firsthand the puppy crowd, the puppy buying crowd, and the puppy loving crowd. We did get to watch dock diving and the flyball championships, which were really fun to see in person because I've watched them on TV. And then just getting to talk to Emily. She's amazing, wonderful Michigan volunteer that we have, and share ideas. And, we sometimes think that we know what is best. And to get to see it from their perspective and hear like what are some of the barriers for them, or see firsthand like, oh, I don't love that they're having to do that, or like, why are we putting that on our volunteers to have to do that extra step, or wouldn't this be better? So just again, those kinds of things don't happen if we're just emailing back and forth. So I really enjoyed that, just getting to get that perspective, especially as someone who's new to all of this. So yeah.
Well, Emily, and I'm going to shout out Jennifer. That's who you all visited when you were in Omaha. And I think she would be sad to not hear her name because we love
Yes.
Jennifer and you both loved meeting Jennifer. But they're just two of our amazing volunteers that we have across the country. And Jalaine, do you want to talk a little bit about how expansive our volunteer team is?
I would love to brag on our volunteers. I will do that any chance I get. So I know we've touched on it a bit, but one of my favorite things about Bailing Out Benji is how unique of an organization we are. Um, Being a national organization that's really run on a grassroots level. Um, we have the four of us full-time and two part-time staff here in Central Iowa. But everything that you see happening in these other states, that's all thanks to our volunteers. All the protests, events, any of their outreach efforts are really volunteer led. They let me know, hey, I'm really interested in doing this thing. And then I help get everything set up, make sure they have everything they need so they can go out and have those conversations in their community. Um, as of right now, we have a little over 220 volunteers in 28 states. So that's so exciting.
So wild. Like last episode, I was mentioning like founding Bailing Out Benji, and it was like 10 of us, like in front of the pet store, and now we're all over the country.
Yeah, it's the growth is absolutely impressive. It's wild. It's shows you what happens when a bunch of passionate people get together and make noise.
Well, it's so organic, right? Like we are not actively looking for volunteers all the time, but we get, I mean, how many requests do you get in a month of people who just learned about Bailing Out Benji?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and so many. Like some of the volunteer requests I see coming through are people who have seen us out in their community, people who have seen our Facebook posts being shared and then gone down a rabbit hole of learning about what we do. So I think it's all of our volunteers being as vocal as they are is definitely creating big change.
And really, I mean, they're leading the effort. And I've even heard from national organizations. So we say that we're a national organization. We're like the smallest kids at the table, right? Like we're just here in Iowa and we just happen to have volunteers all over. But these truly national organizations, they have staff in a lot of the states, but they don't have a grassroots movement the way we do. And so if we need emails sent or calls made, like it is so easy for us to tap into those local volunteers to help make a difference.
And I think something I really want to highlight is that in 2024, our volunteers participated in 227 events. So far this year, as of this recording, so what, the first 3 months, 46 events already.
That's amazing. It's so many,
And it's been the yucky months. Like,
right? It's snowing everywhere and wet and gross. What's what do you think our most common event is? What do people like to do the most at Bailing Out Benji?
I think, okay, the most common I actually know is protests. But that was just very barely over the amount of tabling events last year. It was 113 protests and 95 tabling events. So that's so much. And then what, conferences, parades, different presentations. But I think it's hard to compare protesting and tabling events because they are vastly different. And some people are 100% protesters, some people aren't. And that's okay. That's why we offer so many different volunteer opportunities.
Well, and I guess that's a great thing to talk about. When people reach out to us about volunteering, we don't tell them what to do because we don't know what their life is like. We don't know what their community is like, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always lead with, this is your community. You're the one who lives there. You know what's needed. How can we help you help your community? And so for some folks, that is getting out there and doing the protests and tabling events. For some folks, it's being little online research warriors. Some people like the social media aspect. We have volunteers that write letters, give presentations. Literally, you give our volunteers an opportunity to talk about puppy mills anywhere, they'll do it. They'll do it.
So, can you tell us how you work with Alexis to make sure our teams have everything they need when it comes to educational events?
Yes, Alexis is amazing. I will ask her the silliest question. I'll be like, hey, so we'll use Michigan as an example. Hey, Michigan has this thing coming up. Is this right? Do I understand this so I can explain this? And then in the process, it's not just our volunteers learning, I'm also learning, which I find incredibly valuable. But Alexis, and I'm sure she'll speak more on this, puts together these really nifty talking points, statistic sheets for our volunteers. I personally find them so helpful because I will be asked a question on the spot and everything leaves my brain. Everything. So it's really comforting knowing that you have that backup right there with you, even though our research analyst isn't physically right there with you. She does a very good job of helping make sure everyone's supported and prepared.
Oh, thank you, Jalaine. Yeah, those FAQ sheets, like we always want people to go and feel prepared because like that's always like the hardest part, maybe, or a barrier that people might think of like, oh, well, maybe I don't know what to say. So that might keep me from doing events, but we really want to make it as easy as possible for people. So I'm always willing to make those FAQ sheets for people so that you have those easy talking points when you go and talk to people. And we get kind of state specific ones like Michigan or Arkansas. And we'll just tell you all the data that we've kind of collected about that state, whether it's from like our certificates of veterinary inspection, like who's selling in your state, how many puppies have been imported into your state to pet stores, are there any problematic breeders that we've seen, any necessary information, or if your state has breeders, like what's going on with the breeders in your state, what can we tell you about what violations they're getting or what might be concerning about those facilities. So all that fun information to talk and share with other people in your community.
Well, and you do it in such a easy to understand way, which is the most important thing because this industry like is so confusing and complex.
Mhm.
And for years, we've all only talked about it in a really two-dimensional way. And we made it, I mean, I say we, but like the colloquial, all of animal welfare made it really easy for people to like parrot slogans, but not understand the issue. And so your fact sheets really help our volunteers have that like knowledge and just be armed with the facts. And so even when they're not feeling confident, they know what's going on. So thank you for that.
I'm always happy to do it. So if any of the volunteers are listening and they need an FAQ sheet, hit me up.
So you also mentioned about like our CVIs and that kind of research. Do you want to go into what we kind of do behind the scenes?
Yeah. So we call that like our data entry side of research, which we have an amazing group of volunteers who help out with that. But essentially, what we're doing is we're collecting like government records from the different departments of agriculture to kind of figure out who's selling where. And mostly this is focused on like what breeders and brokers are selling to what pet stores. And so our volunteers are help us like catalog essentially all of those breeders and brokers selling to pet stores across the country, doing little projects so that we can then feed all this information like into our database for a bunch of information, once again, to hit that transparency for the public, give as much information to the public. So we create a database of the information we're finding in data entry to kind of let you know who's selling where and like what type of like facility are they? Are they USDA licensed or state licensed and getting violations? Is there anything concerning that we've been seeing in their CBIs that maybe that should be flagged and told to the public? So really, it's us tracking the sale of dogs across the country and then pulling information about the people who are selling.
Well, and that's why a few years ago we started saying we were forensically auditing these documents because it was no longer what business to what business and how many puppies. It really became, well, how old are those puppies? Yikes, some of them are 7 weeks old. Oh no, that puppy has luxating patellas or a grade 4 heart murmur. Like these are all things that we were seeing for years in these CVIs that go with the puppy to their final destination. But now we have a way of organizing all of that behind the scenes so you can physically see when a breeder is selling to a business what their history looks like.
And then we go a step further to, with like filing complaints on concerning things we see on unlicensed breeders that should be licensed, or hey, you did sell an underage puppy. The USDA doesn't like that, so we should file a complaint on that. So it's definitely this like complex way of looking at these documents that we look at every day.
And it's almost really exciting so the USDA doesn't ever say, "Hey, Alexis, great job. You found someone we should know about." Like, that's
Mhm.
not a thing. But we always get a little excited when we've marked them in our database as we filed a complaint, and then 2 months later they got a license and we were able to see it. So we actually do see that pretty often, whether it's unlicensed breeders getting a license or you can go the past like 2 years, I think, in the USDA, there have been a handful of breeders who've gotten violations for selling puppies underage, and a lot of that's been prompted by our complaints. So it's so cool that we are so meticulously looking at all of these documents all the time.
Yeah. It is, and it's kind of a unique thing that we do because as far as we know, like we're the only ones that really look at these documents as closely as we do. So it's just an amazing thing we do, and I think an amazing thing that our volunteers are able to help with because without them, we wouldn't be able to get through as much as we do because like there's hundreds of thousands of CVIs that we look through yearly. So it really helps having our data entry team. So shout out to everyone on there. You guys are rock stars.
And it's not just the CVIs though. Like now we do all the federal inspection records and state inspection records, and we've started this whole online project, which is a whole new thing we're doing.
Those inspection records, they help us build more on those profiles to share with the public about like who is selling where. But the exciting news, as you mentioned, the online brokering project, which we have another amazing set of volunteers helping with, is kind of, I think, the first of its kind, too. Nobody else has really been looking into who is selling on online brokering websites. And so we took on the task of auditing all of these brokering websites. We started with the largest, I don't know, should I mention or not? um, puppies.com, which had upwards of like 15,000 advertisers on this website alone. And what we did was we took all of that information and we're breaking it down into little projects that our volunteers are helping us with so that we can say, hey, this person isn't licensed, but they're selling, and it kind of seems like they should be licensed either with their state or with the USDA at the federal level. So we're going through and we're trying to audit and determine who needs a complaint, who needs to be licensed, who needs to be brought into regulation. So it's this massive undertaking that we've got another amazing set of volunteers to help with, and we're hoping to get a lot of good information out to the public about that online like sale, what's happening over there, because so far we don't really have a lot of data on that, and we're excited to be able to audit that and bring that transparency to the public.
Yeah, this has been I think it's one of the most exciting things we've done lately, just because it's no one is doing it. And the fact that we were able to get all of the breeders who were selling on that website at once and then just be nosy about it. Like we just get to kind of creep and go down rabbit holes and decide, yeah, who needs a license. And I think we're sitting around, I think it's around 300 breeders so far that we've determined needs a license of some kind. And we're not even, I would argue, we're not even a fourth of the way through our project, and we already know of that many facilities. So that's why it's important to look at those documents, right? You look at the CVIs, you look at who's selling online. It's not good enough to just say, well, that breeder has a violation, they're bad. You really have to go and look for the online, quote unquote, online puppy mills, because they're the ones who are just operating with no oversight, and no one is able to really wrangle them in yet. No one knows how to do it yet. So shining a light on it's so important. Well, I wanted to circle back really quick. Earlier, Kristen, you were mentioning someone was talking about ferrets and how horrible that whole industry is. And that's literally something Alexis and I see with our research. Like, guinea pig mills are so much worse than some of the puppy mills we see and some of the violations. It's just, you can't have your compassion stop at dogs and cats.
Yeah, that's right. And that's something that Emily and I were talking about after the person with the ferret rescue came and was talking to us. And again, being new to this whole world and to this industry, it's eye-opening to me. And we kind of had that discussion about where do you draw the line, and how that topic is sometimes is what interferes with legislation around these issues, is that, where do we draw the line? So we say, okay, also ferrets. And then you say, well, also rabbits. And then you've got literally at the Mid-Michigan Pet Expo, there was a person with rats. Okay, well, now we have to protect the rats. Well, now you've lost every legislator. So it becomes kind of that slippery slope of I don't know. I feel like unfortunately, it maybe makes us get into that fend for yourselves attitude of like, yep, ferrets are great, but keep your ferrets over there because I need to protect what I'm trying to do over here and get my legislation passed or get my policies put into place at the expense of the other animal rescue groups. But I think it's all valid, and I don't know the answer.
There was a bill a while back, and I think it was in California. It might have been a local ordinance, so like don't crucify me if I don't have my stats right. But they jokingly called it the goldfish bill, because someone was trying to basically say we don't want any animals sold in stores because of, I mean, reality, like what we see, right? We see how horrific the small animal mills are. So we understood the train of thought. But it became the joke. Well, now you want to ban goldfish. And so when we were working on legislation with other groups, we tried really hard to make sure rabbits were included, because they were the third most surrendered animal in shelters and rescues. And we see a lot of the violations that are happening to rabbits. But then why not guinea pigs and why not ferrets? You're right. Like, it's that slippery slope of there's so many animals that are suffering in licensed breeding facilities. I hesitate to call something humane anymore. Like, my favorite pet store is Wholesome Pet Essentials. They don't sell any animals. I call that a humane store. I don't know if I would necessarily like call a store humane if they're still selling animals, but that's me personally, because I see it all. I've seen it all. So Kristen did a phenomenal job the last month of trying to get some recurring donors. Did you want
I
to
was
talk?
100% going to jump in and be like, hold on. If we're done talking about like on the ground puppy mills, I have some financial stuff to talk about. Yeah, so we did do a recurring donor drive in March. I will say that while we have been recording the podcast, we got another recurring donor that signed up. So Sally is going to be getting a free t-shirt. So what we did in March was we said for every new recurring donor, we were going to send a t-shirt that's not available on our store. So they are just exclusive, a little bit different than what the general public can buy. Recurring donors are huge to organizations like ours, even if it's not a big amount. $5 a month, $100 a month, just having that recurring amount and knowing that we have this steady flow of donations coming in each month makes us able to plan things like when we want to do an AI sweep to get data for our research team, or when we want to fund tabling events. We're heading into summer and we're going to have a lot of public outreach events going on. So just knowing that we have this continuous flow of donations is super helpful. So March, we did the recurring donor drive with t-shirts. It is the last day of March as we are recording this. So we are ending that today. But since we're relaunching the podcast, and I know a lot of people are very excited. We have gotten a lot of feedback from folks that they are excited to see it come back. I have heard personally so many people who found Bailing Out Benji because of the podcast. So they're excited for it to come back. So in honor of relaunching the podcast, we are going to extend into the month of April and do the free exclusive shirt for recurring donors as well. So if you are listening or watching this podcast in real time or in the month of April of 2025 when we're recording, then you can go to our website, bailingoutbenji.com. There's a donate link. Go there, make your donation recurring. I will see that and I will reach out to you and get you a shirt.
That's so exciting. And honestly, I'm sure if someone reached out to us after April and became a recurring donor, we'd probably give them a free shirt because we're
I
nice.
can probably give them a shirt. Our merch is amazing. I will tell you, anytime I am in public wearing one of our shirts, it is the best conversation starter. Yeah, Alexis.
You can't see
So,
Alexis wearing her introverted but willing to discuss puppy mill shirt.
Yeah, just wanted to show it off. An option, guys.
my favorite story about that shirt is when I was in Michigan, it was on the table at our event. And I kept telling Emily, I have got to buy this shirt. I really, really need this introverted but willing to discuss puppy mills shirt. And I didn't buy it from her table because I'm like, why would I buy it from her table when we have them at the office? I'll just buy it when I get back to the office. And I got back to the office and I must have said it 3 times and I still never bought it. And then I was going through my closet. I own that shirt. I already have that shirt. It's in my closet. So super glad I did not buy it again. Also, yeah, there I am outing myself as a complete scatterbrain that owns a t-shirt I didn't know I owned, but it's an amazing t-shirt and also comes in V-neck. So anyway, just a plug for our amazing Bailing Out Benji merchandise because it's top class and truly is the best way to start conversations about puppy mills in public when you're just wandering through Costco or wherever you might be.
Be prepared though, people will want to stop and talk to you about puppy mills. So like you have to, want to have that conversation, but you do the minute. I mean, gosh, where was I? Kristen, we were at the bank the other day and the person on the phone with our teller was like, "Oh, what does Bailing Out Benji do?" And then she explained it. And then our poor bank teller had to be on the phone for 5 additional minutes while the person on the phone told her all about the rescue work she does and all the things that she does to fight puppy mills. It was just such a funny thing because our banker had no skin in that game, but had to sit there and be polite and be like, "Yes, they're wonderful. We love Bailing Out Benji." So just kind of funny.
Maybe it's not just our volunteers listening in on this, but the general public. Like, we talk to the general public. Like, you guys ask us research questions too. So, like, if you don't feel confident about maybe starting that conversation about puppy mills, reach out to us. We're always happy to share that information. Reach out to our research at bailingoutbenji.com and we can answer any questions you have about puppy mills because we really want you to help. We really want to help you facilitate these conversations in your community as well.
And that circles right back to how do we get in front of the people who are unaware? Like, it's hard to find someone in public who does not like dogs. They're just darn cute, and so many people love them. So to have a shirt start that conversation with someone who maybe knows what a puppy mill is or has heard about puppy mills, but they don't understand how it connects to them, how that dog that they're about to buy at the pet store or the dog that they're about to buy from that breeder online, what does that have to do with puppy mills? So again, it's getting to the people who may not understand the connection while you're, walking down the aisles at your local store or whatever. So,
Well, we're almost at time. Should we really quickly talk about our favorite event of the year that's coming up? We are planning our, is it 5th or 6th Bark After Dark Gala. I don't even know now what year we're on. But it's going to be in Des Moines, Iowa, and we have a wonderful gala planning committee this year helping with it. Jalaine says it's year 7. Is that including COVID? We had to take 2 years off.
Then maybe 6. I only counted 1 year off, I think.
Kristen, do you want to talk about our gala a little bit? We can all hop in.
sure. Yeah, I feel like, so last year I helped on the committee for the first time, which was a great experience. And I thought, I said, like, Mindy is never going to let me help with anything again because I am being so vocal about my opinions on the gala. And then Mindy was like, you should come work for Bailing Out Benji. So that backfired. But yeah, so really excited. This year we've got a new venue. It's going to be at Mainframe Studios in Des Moines, which is, if you're familiar with Des Moines, you've probably seen it downtown. It's a big building with a giant mural on the side. It's the largest, I didn't prepare for this, so I'll get it wrong, but it's the largest collective of artists. So it's this giant building, multiple floors, and it's just all art studios. People can rent studio space, create art there, sell art out of there. It's a treasure for Des Moines. And so we are renting space there for the night to have our gala. We will have kind of a similar format if you've been in the past. We will be honoring our volunteer of the year. We do a volunteer team also. We'll have speakers. We will have our Hall of Puppy Mill survivors. We'll have silent auction, which will also be online for those of you who aren't local and want to participate. So watch for that. It's just a really great event to bring our supporters together and really celebrate all that we have done. You'll hear a lot about what we've done throughout the year. Yeah, and a way to show some love for Bailing Out Benji.
And when is it?
It is September 20th in the evening. And yeah.
That's exciting. Jalaine, do you want to talk really quick about last year's volunteer of the war? Like, we can talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So last year was the first year that we started honoring volunteers for their volunteer service at the gala. I was lucky enough to introduce Lauren and Tom from Colorado, and we got to recognize them and honor them for all they did together as a team. When they were out there in Colorado, Tom last summer moved to Iowa, actually, so we wanted to make sure that they got the recognition they deserved at that time. And then Alexis had the honor of introducing and speaking a little bit about our Volunteer of the Year, Shannon, and all the outstanding work that she does. So we're really excited to bring this back to the gala this year.
Yeah, so if you're interested, consider if you're in Iowa, it's like just a little hop over. Iowa's not that big. There's no excuse to not come see us. But also, no matter where else you are, the Des Moines Airport's super close, and we're really fun, chill people to hang out with and see. So don't miss out. It's Saturday, September 20th. Mark your calendar.
And we don't have our link to tickets ready yet. So tickets aren't on sale yet because we're still several months out. But we do have sponsorship options available right now. So if you are interested in being a sponsor for the event, it does bring in, last year, did we have 200 or 250 people?
It was almost, yeah.
Yeah, so we bring in quite a few people who love dogs, love animals, love the things that we do. It's a great opportunity to get your business in front of people who are potentially, like in your industry, if you are somehow pet related. So we are open to sponsors right now. That information is on our website, so you can head over there and check out our sponsorship options.
Well, thank you three for joining me this week, or this week's episode, I should say. You join me every week at work. I appreciate you doing that as well. You're going to hear for our guests, you're going to hear from Kristen and Alexis and Jalaine going forward. Every week, we're going to have some themed topic that we discuss like last time. And so you're going to hear a lot more from these three. But if you have any topics you want to have us cover, or if there's something we say that you want us to maybe clarify on the next episode, we're more than happy to do that always. So I'm going to end this by saying, please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Substack and TikTok. We also have a mailing list, so you're welcome to sign up for that, and we will reach out to you when there's puppy mill news going on in your community. And lastly, you've heard us say it like 60 times this episode, I think, but please donate to Bailing Out Benji. We are a very small organization, and we are doing really big things, and we truly can't do it without you. So thank you for sitting with us again this week and being part of the conversation. We're so excited to have you as a part of Team Bailing Out Benji. Have a great week, everyone.